Good morning, everyone. I'm Kathleen Bate. I'm happy to be here talking to superintendents from across the country about what they do and what's going on in education. And we're lucky enough to have Kirk Shrum with us from Visalia Unified School District right here in California. Welcome to you.
Thank you. I'm Kirk Shrum, Superintendent of Visalia Unified. Thrilled to be here today and looking forward to the conversation.
Well, every school district, as you know, is a reflection of the community that it's in. So describe to us what your community's like and the challenges that you face.
Visalia is a great community, about 140,000 people in it, kind of the larger city for the area around it in Tulare County. What's unique about Visalia in Tulare County is it's one of the most impoverished counties within the state of California. And so we have a large percentage of students who, in California terms, are unduplicated, meaning, Hispanic, free and reduced lunch, high poverty levels, all of those sorts of things. And it really makes for a unique blended community, very agricultural driven, but also industry as well, and the industries that support agriculture. And so Fresno and the whole area like to say, we feed the world, feed the United States. And it's true. You see the orchards, you see all of those sorts of things just 5 minutes outside of the city of Visalia. And so it's a great, unique community. The people love the community there, value education, want to see the best for all of our students. And so it's just a great place to be.
So what are some of the special challenges that you have based on the community needs and the different kind of students that you have?
I think one of our biggest challenges is just the expectation of what's possible for our students. We have a very, our data is improving, but it's not where we want it to be. We have far too many students who are performing way below grade level. And as you think about the jobs and the opportunities that they're going to have, within even agriculture, right? And how technology is just even changing that field from where a lot of things used to be hands-on, maybe, when you think about fields and when you think about production of food, when you think about those things. Now it's mechanical driven, it's artificial intelligence, it's all of those things. And so how do we help educate students and even families to be successful in kind of this new world that we're moving into?
What are some of the initiatives that you've implemented to try and address some of that?
So one of the first things that we did when I came to Visalia is really just assessed where we were. What were we doing academically? What were our programs? What did they look like? What was working? What wasn't working? And really math and reading were two areas that we knew we needed to focus in. When you only have about 25% of your kids reading or even performing math on grade level, that's a huge challenge, right? And so we really had to look at our instruction. What programs did we have that were really going to help students be successful? And we realized in literacy, we had a huge gap. We did not have an explicit phonics program. And so one of the things that we did was bring our teachers together and look at different opportunities that existed. And so this past year, we implemented a phonics program. So today, every student in kindergarten, first, second grade has 30 minutes lesson every day on just phonics. And we're already seeing that impact our reading scores. We're seeing our students apply those strategies, not just in reading, but across subject areas when they come to words they need to decode, whatever it might be. And so we really wanted to focus on our instructional delivery models. And so a few of the other things that we did as well is partnered with paper to make sure our students had opportunities for tutoring during the school day and outside of the school day. And also in math, we really focused in on, in California, Math 1 is kind of similar to Algebra 1 as far as that gateway math class. And so we really focused on an assessment cycle with our Math 1. Assessing our students, how are they doing, delivering just-in-time instruction. And so this year, we really started in those key areas of reading and Math 1 to give our students the best chance. We know if they can read on grade level by third grade, that we also know if they can pass Math 1 or Algebra 1, in their 8th grade or 9th grade year, their trajectory is set.
And as I understand it, you've only been in this position since 2022. So is that one of the strides that you've made or accomplishments that you're most proud of?
Yeah. So definitely very proud. This is coming up on year 2, or just about the year 2 mark. Time goes by really fast, and really proud of the work. One thing about Visalia that's unique are our teachers, are our students, are our families, and they're great. And so being able to come into that atmosphere and bring people together, and so really what I'm most proud of are those things. But we launched an initiative when I got there called One Visalia Connected. And the point of that initiative was just that, to bring all parts of Visalia together, from our business community, from our local service clubs, all of those things, to really come together and think about how can we support all of our kids in Visalia unified. And so we had several convenings of that group. We really focused also on telling our story through social media and other means for people to really see what education was like. And so we had 100-fold increase in people following us and following our story. But perhaps what I'm most proud of, I think, is our school board. And as most people connected to education know, your school boards make a lot of your policy decisions. And when they work well together, that sends a strong message throughout the organization. And so we really worked on, as a school board, how do we develop foundational policies that are going to set our students up for success? And so we worked a lot of that on that, created a new vision and mission, our mission, every student learning every day. That's what we're about. And so as a result of that, this past winter, our school board received the California School Governance Team of the Year Award. So the one school board out of the entire state of California to be recognized. And so that is one of the things I'm most proud about, because that says that this is a team that's focused on our students. And that was recognized. So very proud of that.
And considering you're in a state of almost 40 million people, that's impressive, right?
Over 1,000 different school systems. And so to be the one that was selected for that really speaks to the work our school board has done, because at the end of the day, our school boards create the conditions for our school districts and for school leaders to be successful. And those conditions they set ultimately determine that success.
And you mentioned something about connecting the schools to the community. Talk about this student connectivity that you're so passionate about.
Yeah. So within the One Visalia Connected initiative, part of the sub goal of that was that every student's connected to something meaningful every day. And so not just within the school day. So this could be, I'm in a club after school, or I play a sport, or I'm in VAPA, Visual and Performing Arts. Or maybe even I'm in a community club, right? Whatever it might be, a church group, a youth soccer team. Because what research shows is that when students are connected to something beyond maybe just their academic class, they perform better, they feel better about themselves, and they have better attendance. And this is research proven all over. And if you think about your own experiences, if people just think back and reflect, like at times when they felt they were most successful, it's probably when they were connected to something that they were passionate about or excited about, or that meant something to them. And you never miss that, right? You look forward to it and all of those things. And so we've started tracking our data. And so one of the things that we want to make sure is every student's connected. And so working with our counselors, working with our school sites, and looking at that data, we're able now to start zeroing in on maybe students who are not connected, and are able to go in and think about, well, what's something you're interested in, right? Maybe that student that's acting up a little bit in class, right? Well, maybe they might need to be in our drama club or something, right? And put that to good use. And so just really thinking through that lens. And we've run some data, and we saw in our students that were connected compared to those that were not, exactly what the research said. Their GPA was higher, and their attendance rate was higher than students who were not connected.
Because they're more invested.
They're more invested, right? And that's oftentimes what brings them to school. Like, okay, I'll come for math. That's not really why I want to be there, but I'm not going to miss the day because I have chorus or I have football practice after school. And so really being intentional about how can we add more opportunity at all of our school sites for connectivity. And so it's a journey we're continuing, and our goal is simply 100%. It's going to take a while to get there. We've got to do a lot of work, but that's what's important, because if every student's connected to something meaningful, it's going to change their trajectory.
And when you talk about connectivity, does that also lead into technology and also artificial intelligence? Yeah. There's all kinds of technology that educators are dealing with now. So speak to that a bit.
I would say when you think about the transforming landscape of education, it is a whole new world. And I think one of our challenges in education is that students don't see what we're doing as relevant. You've got students in our high schools, middle schools, right? What they're aspiring to are things that many folks in my generation and others don't know anything about. The blogging, right? Social media development, all videos, all YouTube, all of those things. They want to be a content creator. See, I don't even know the right words, right? And so they're sitting in class and we're bringing things to them traditionally. I want you to sit and listen. I'm going to, impart knowledge on you. And our students are like, well, wait a minute. I can just use my tools and the resources that I have available to figure these things out. I can just Google, right? So we have to change our service model in education. I truly believe we have to change our service model, and we have to support and guide our teachers to what that looks like.
How do you change that model?
Yeah,
Like, what are you envisioning?
And I think part of it is a reassuring message too. And I want to be really clear. There's no tool that will ever replace a teacher. The impact of a teacher, that person standing and working with kids, will never be replaced. But what I like to tell teachers is, if you find the right tool, pieces of AI, whatever it might be, right? Technology support, and you use that effectively, combine that with a highly effective teacher, now your outreach is going to be that much more powerful and effective. So it's not about using these tools in place of or in spite of. It's how do we integrate these tools into the culture, into the fabric of teaching? How does it become something that, just like back when I began teaching, I have my teacher manual, right? But now it's like, how do I incorporate those tools? What does that look like now? And so that to me is what we're working on with our educators. Artificial intelligence to help write lesson plans. Artificial intelligence are different, and I'm using that term broadly, but all the tools associated with that to help me figure out which student needs to go into what group for what skill. I used to have to figure those things out, at night or on the weekend. Well, now, through our data sources and through different technology, teachers can literally, push a button and here are the 5 kids that need to work on this skill. So I'm going to pull them for a small group. So it really enhances the teacher's effectiveness.
How do you think it helps you as a superintendent? You mentioned being a teacher, so you were on the ground floor, so to speak, or in the trenches with the students,
Right.
and then a principal, and now you're an administrator and
Right,
seeing
right.
all of this. How has that shaped your leadership and how you approach these challenges and opportunities?
Right. So I think, with my leadership and not only the changing technology landscape, and it is changing fast, and COVID really accelerated those things. Many of these tools were already starting to be incorporated into school districts, classrooms, but when everything had to shut down that, March 13th day, roundabout, that was the day for us, everything shifted, and districts that maybe didn't already have one-to-one technology had to suddenly figure out how we're going to do that overnight. Teachers who may have never utilize technology in their classroom suddenly overnight had to figure out, what do I do? How do I reach my students now that I can't literally be, in front of them, at a whiteboard or with my books and things that I'm used to. And so I think at first there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of uncertainty, but my leadership and that of, I think what brought people through effectively is just that guidance and confidence. Listen, this may not be perfect on day one. And guess what? That's okay. But every day we're going to work together. We're going to look back. We're going to look at our data. We're going to look and see who was effective, who wasn't. We're going to figure out, what do we do? What support do you need to be effective? We're going to hold hands and walk through this together. And I think places that really focused on that, on bringing everybody along together, and also being clear about what was working and what wasn't working, asking your teachers, hey, what's not working, right? And then figuring out what we do about it. That's kind of the style, I think, and even now post-COVID, that's going to be essential. Because again, with all of the new tools that are available, all of the distractions that our students face and our teachers see happening in the classroom, we're all going to have to work together to figure out what we do about it. Because what I do know is that banning things or saying don't do that or we're not going to use that tool is not going to work. So we've got to acknowledge that and figure out, okay, if that's the case, then how do we use it effectively? How do we teach kids what's effective and what's the right kind of research versus what's cheating? How do we equip students and teachers to be successful with these things versus fear them or shut them down or all of that? That's going to be what gets us through and improves our systems and our processes.
Let me ask you, you mentioned the pandemic, and financial support is huge for education, as you know. How are you managing the expiration of the pandemic relief funds?
Um, that is a challenge facing, I would say, almost every school district, every state, all across the nation, with ESSER funding and all of the things, and very appreciative of that. That brought millions and just lots of money into school districts, and school districts had to think very fast. How do I use some of that? And many places invested in people, invested in tutoring, invested in additional academic programs, all of those sorts of things. And some have been effective, I think. Some maybe not as much. That's an opportunity we have right now as we think about the expiration of funds. How do we really take a moment while we have a moment and think about, okay, what of all these things that we did, what is really most effective for students? Because as our resources dwindle a little bit in these coming years, then we're going to have to make some strategic decisions about what we keep and what we can't keep. And I think also as a superintendent and as our school board and others, being transparent with our employees about those things. Because if you're an employee sitting there and you were hired with ESSER funds and those are going away, that's an uncomfortable place to be. What does that mean for me, right? What's going to happen to me? And so how we are clear on our communication, how we work to figure out what we keep and maybe what's going away. Maybe there are other opportunities for people that are in some of those positions. And it's not just people, it's programs as well. And so we have to be really strategic around what technology programs are we going to be able to keep? Which programs are really improving outcomes for students and teachers? And is there a data source that confirms that? Because I can think a lot of things, but I have to have the data source to say, okay, no, this drove improvement. And so I'm going to make it a priority with my funding. And so that's really the running out or the ending of all those funding sources are really, that's what school districts should be doing right now, is really being in an evaluative stance to see what's effective.
And as we are looking ahead to 2024, we're just in February now. What is your outlook for education?
Yeah. So I'm an optimist in a lot of ways, right? Like I like to think we're going to be okay, and we really are. I mean, you think about, yes, we're going to lose some funds, okay, ESSER, those sorts of things. We didn't have them 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? And maybe things weren't perfect. Things will never be perfect, really, but we were doing okay. Education went through a worldwide pandemic along with everybody else. We made it, right? We came out on the other end a little changed, or a lot changed, right? But we still made it. And so I look at this very much the same way. We're going to be okay. We're going to make it. It's going to be fine. But we do have to be strategic, and we are going to have some tough conversations, and we are going to have to think differently. But if you're willing to do those things, we're going to be okay. Our kids are going to be okay.
And you came to Visalia out of Georgia. So let's talk a little East Coast versus West Coast. Are there different challenges out here West when it comes to education?
Well, I would say SEC football, is a little bit of a difference, from the South, but just kidding. I think education is different really state by state. And so versus maybe a South or an East or a West or that sort of thing. Because the state really dictates your graduation requirements. The state dictates many of those sorts of things. And so one thing that was interesting to me, I would say coming from Georgia, is that the California graduation requirements are a lower bar than Georgia.
Is that right?
And so when it comes to the number of years required, say in math and ELA and sciences to graduate in Georgia, is higher than it is in California. So that was really interesting to me. I'm not sure that was a perspective I really had. You kind of sometimes think of California as leading maybe in some ways. And so coming out and seeing like, oh my goodness, we need to set a higher bar for our students, because if they just come out with what California requires just to graduate, they're not eligible to go into a University of California or Cal State institution. They won't have enough years of certain subjects to get into those schools. And so we've really worked hard in Visalia, especially with our community, right? And many of our students who may not see that as a avenue for them to require things with support. So we now require 3 years of math instead of 2. And that correlates with what it takes to get into a University of California institution. You know, high school kids, junior high kids, that's not for me. That's not for me. And then they don't take the class. And guess what? Now they're stuck. But what if you say to that student, well, no, right now you're not thinking about going there, but just take this class, look, trust me, you're going to be okay. I'm going to help you, because who knows what the future. And now that kid has a pathway that they may not have had before. And so we've partnered with 2 of our local universities, Fresno State and UC Merced, to work on what we're calling guaranteed admissions programs. And so Fresno State has launched a whole initiative called Bulldog Bound with our district and some others. And so our kids, when they enter their freshman year in high school, they can simply sign up for this program. They get a library card. They get to go to Fresno State. Now, that may not be where they want to go, right, ultimately, but they start getting a college experience as early as their freshman year. And by the time they're a junior, if they have taken the right sequence of classes, Fresno State guarantees our students guaranteed admission into a California State University. And that is difficult to get into. But now our kids, and same thing with UC Merced, the programs are a little different. But we just had over 100 kids get guaranteed admission into both of those universities, and they're not even seniors yet.
Outstanding.
And so it's absolutely amazing. And so that's what we're doing, right? We're helping broaden the future for our students so that they can see what's possible.
Yeah, turning that spark into a flame, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, Kirk Shrum, so nice talking to you this morning, and you really had some wonderful advice to share with other educators. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.